Hello, welcome to Soulprint Intuitive Tarot. It is February 11th. Jerry and I decided that this would be a good time for him to come and say hello to everybody again. Tonight is the New Hampshire Primary. Settle down, bud. And he just wanted everybody to remember it's early goings. Let's everybody breathe. Let's everybody relax. It's all going to be okay. Bye, handsome. Oopsie. For those of you who don't know, Jerry is in fact, this is very exciting. Oh my God, Jerry, I almost forgot. It is Jerry's 6th birthday today. And make no mistake, there will be cake. Absolutely, there will be cake. So Jerry is a rescue. He is a 3-legged part Maine Coon. He is absolutely regal. He completely believes he is a rock star in this whole endeavor, and he is. Even though he looks like a massive, massive cat, Jerry wants the world to know that he only weighs about 10 pounds. And mostly he's just all fur and heart. All right, so go on, buddy. Go have a nap or something, because you know what? We're celebrating tonight. Come on, let go. Let go. Okay. Bye. Okay. Hi. All right, so the primary tonight in New Hampshire, and so that's going to be interesting. There's a lot going on. So I'm just gonna share this with you. It's very interesting, some of the energy that I've sort of been picking up on, almost for like the last week, sort of as the whole caucus and the primaries and this whole voting thing has started. So this is what you have. Let's break America into approximately a third, 3 1/3 pieces. So 1/3, and that's an overestimation, but in any case, about 1/3 are Trump supporters, and they're rah, 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 and they're not going to listen to anything negative about him, and they think he's doing a brilliant job, and they're convinced the economy is doing amazing, even though if you actually question them, most of them will say, well, it hasn't improved my life any, but, he's doing great things for the economy. There's that group. And then there is a group of people who are behaving or feeling or have the attitude as if this is just a regular election cycle. 4 years are coming to a close. It's time to select a president. Lots of people don't like Trump, so they really want him and the Republicans out of power. But, mostly it's just business as usual, right? I want who I want to get into office, what I'm looking for, what my priorities are important, and basically the foundation from which I am going to vote. There. In fact, that's normally how it always is, correct? And then there's another third. And that third of people are like, okay, wait a minute, this guy is evil personified. He is a clear and present danger to our country. There is no reining him in. There is no harnessing him. And so we have to do everything in our power, both physically in terms of protesting and getting people out to vote and voting ourselves, and energetically in terms of keeping our thoughts really positive and, pushing back on that energy that is of a lower vibration. So that's what you have right now. There's like these 3 very sort of distinct, if you will, groups of people sort of wandering around the United States as they're starting to think about the upcoming election in November. So, sorry, Jerry appears to have shared his fur with me. So that's what you have going on. So this is really, really interesting, because what almost like needs to happen is there needs to be I almost want to say a coming together of the 2 sort of groups of the Democratic Party. I continue to be very, very concerned about that energy splintering. I think that it's going to come together. It is so early still. For goodness sakes, it is like February. There's a long, I'm really sorry. This is ridiculous. He just got fur all over me, and he very rarely does. All right. Sorry, I apologize. So at some point, there's going to be a coming together, I believe, because it's still really, really early yet. And if I heard correctly, apparently the Iowa and New Hampshire primaries or caucus, depending on, apparently they only actually represent about 5% of the population. So I guess my message is that, just it's early days. And I would really encourage people who are getting panicky or scared or are starting to feel this thing is out of control, and there's not going to be a way to win. I encourage you just to sort of take a few deep breaths and be still. Because, as I said, there's a long, long way to go. Okay? So, I thought today, just for a little bit of a change, we would take a bit of a look at those who I refer to as the spawn of Trump. Okay? So I want to take a look at Ivanka and that husband of hers, Jared. And I want to take a look at Don Jr. Eric kind of isn't energetically sort of reared his head yet. I imagine, again, as the whole process goes forward, we're going to be hearing more and more from him. And for those of you who are regular viewers of this channel and know or perhaps have forgotten, I try very, very hard to not look at Barron. He's young, he's innocent, and he does not need his life or his privacy infringed on. And frankly, I feel very much the same way about Tiffany. Her mom did what she could to remove her daughter from sort of the influence of the Trump family, to the degree that she sort of moved her across the country. I believe they did reside in California. Now, I know Tiffany is in school. She's in law school, and good for her. That's amazing. In some ways, it's kind of ironic, isn't it, that one of the most corrupt families on the planet has a daughter that's going into law. And I guess, as far as Tiffany goes, I don't know, right? Is she going to be an amazing lawyer, or is she in training to become Trump's Ray Cohn? I don't think so. I actually I think Tiffany has a much nicer energy. So that's my question. I want to see what's going on with these guys. And I think maybe what I'll do is I think we'll look at Ivanka and Jared first, and then we'll take a look at Don Jr. So I have a question. Come on down. Here we go. Come on down. Okay. So Jared and Ivanka, Kushner. We have the Knight of Pentacles and the Ace of Pentacles popping out. So I'm going to suggest that this reading might have a fair bit to do with assets, money, physical possessions. That, of course, would surprise nobody. Okay, here we go. So, Jared and Ivanka, Jared and Ivanka, Jared and Ivanka. Okay. So, they have been able to succeed and flourish because, to whatever degree, people buy into the story that they tell. They buy into the messages they send out. There is something about the two of them that up until very recently really did instill sort of a sense of confidence in people. There was that sense that, they were young, they were up and coming, they were smart, they were savvy, they were successful. Now, I'm not talking about the people in New York who knew them and knew of them and knew about them. I'm just talking about a general feeling, sort of as how they were perceived, almost sort of as if they were the golden children, right? And, they very much had their eye on their assets. They very much made that the foundation and the basis for what they did on a day-by-day basis. And they were celebrated. Okay, they really were. They felt that they were on a upward climb. They felt that, there was almost no ceiling. They felt that the world truly, truly was their oyster. And because they sort of had this way of communicating, it made them even more successful. They were able to manipulate their words and their feelings and their presentation in such a way so that people really did kind of buy in to what they were selling. And here they are now, sitting in a place, in a position where they really are starting to understand that they are going to be left out in the cold. And I want to say Ivanka probably has more clarity about that than Jared does, in part because Jared is motivated to some degree by a feeling of, I almost want to say, fear or panic. There is a family history there. His father went to jail and served time. And so, of course, for Jared, his biggest and greatest fear is that, that will happen to him, and that, he will even go so far as to inflict the kind of pain on his children that he suffered. And so in some ways, he really does keep himself in a bit of a bubble. What I don't want to look at, I will just pretend I don't see. And, anybody who sort of followed what he has accomplished, I use that word sarcastically, with all of the tasks that he has been given by Trump, will see that there's exactly that same energy, right? I'm only going to see what I want to see and what serves me. And I'm really not going to look honestly or objectively at kind of anything else because, I'm not really interested in that. And so in that way, he really is able to keep himself in a wee little bit of a bubble. Ivanka is a little bit different because she's got a wee little bit more clarity. And in some ways, it's because the real sort of harshness or cruelty of being on the wrong side of the law has really, really not impacted her yet, right? She's not experienced that in her life. So she really just doesn't have a frame of reference. And so she's a little bit more objective. And there's definitely a sense that she really needs to protect herself. She has taken a real back seat. She's become very, very quiet lately. She's sort of not really out there doing a whole lot. She is using, other obligations, her children, whatever. She's using that as sort of an excuse to buffer herself and create a little bit of separation. And part of the reason she's doing that, of course, is because more and more investigations are going on where they're actually delving deep into the money situation. And more information is coming out, and there really is a growing awareness of the fact that her, together with Don Jr., really had developed quite the little scam when it came to particularly the sale of their condos. But that really, she's starting to realize, not that, make no mistake, not that she actually thinks what she did was wrong. She thought it was standard operating procedure. But she is, at least on some level, starting to develop a bit of an awareness, at least, that maybe that's not looking so good. And maybe in some circles that actually would not be considered good business. So there we have it, right? So you have these two people. One is a little bit in a bubble and one is a little bit more objective. But by and large, they are both very, very much still caught up in the illusion and the projection of their life. So it really is a sense of, if we just continue, we can fake it until we make it, right? We can pretend everything is fine. And if we pretend it good enough and hard enough, we are going to just be able to ride over this situation and basically escape unharmed and unscathed. So again, they have a very, very limited road that they're looking down, okay? Like, they're not looking years down into the future to see how this plays out. They're really looking at, what do I need to do this month? What do I need to do in 6 months? And maybe I'll give some consideration to where I might possibly be in a year. But they really don't, okay? They really do stay quite focused on the here and the now, because that's where they feel their strength is. That's where they feel their ability to create illusions rest. There is so much we do not know. There is so much dark money going on. There is so much illegal business practices. And they are, at some point, literally going to have to walk away. And I almost want to say, like, sort of disappear, right? They're going to walk away in disappointment. There is going to be a loss of their status. There is going to be a loss of areas of their life that are ego-driven. And again, I caution you, remember, for those people who are still really, really enamored of Trump, for those big donor Republicans who really want to see this Trump era go forward for at least another 4 years, there really is, they really still are. They're being buffered by the people that they surround themselves with. The people of New York, the friends that they had in New York, who really have pushed them away as a result of the Trump presidency, they just sort of view them as losers who just don't get it and who just don't understand it, right? So if you're not, it's very much like Trump, right? If you are not approving, then you are nobody and nothing, and you must be discredited and, discounted. So understand, they still have a great deal of support around them, even though that end is sort of creeping up on them. In some ways, they really don't see it because they're very, very focused on their business dealings. They're very focused on continuing to create the illusion. That's where they're at. Now, there are going to be some offers made to them. And, are these offers to maybe flip on Trump? Is this offers to sort of share some information? Ivanka may toy with the idea. She may have even perhaps shared some information with authorities. But as she watches the way her father reacts, and has reacted over the course of the impeachment, inquiry, and then the hearings, trial, and the sort of viciousness that really has taken on a new strength in terms of the way her dad is reacting to those people who did not present as 100% loyal. She is also not going to be too interested in putting herself in that position because on some level, a couple of things, right? On some level, she is desperate to continue to be a daddy's girl. She is desperate to continue to have that sort of exalted status with daddy that she has. And so she's not going to be very anxious to do anything or say anything that really sets him off, because for her, that is paramount to losing her name, her reputation, and her assets and her livelihood. So I don't see her moving forward in any significant way in terms of turning on her father or the company or any of that, but she has sort of moved into at least a slightly more defensive and protective posture. There is an indication here that she is squirreling away assets, squirreling away money. She is sort of doing whatever she can to secure herself financially. And part of that, honestly, is because her maternal instincts have kicked in. And there is a sense that she needs to protect her children from whatever bumps and bruises may, happen in the future. There's going to come a time where both of them are going to have to make some really difficult decisions. And it looks like that's going to be quite difficult. The other message that this card is sending me is that at some point, she herself is going to have to make a choice almost between her husband and her father. And when it comes to that, it's really honestly going to boil down to whoever offers her the most. There really is a very mercenary aspect to her personality. And so whichever party is going to secure her the best, that is where her loyalty will go. As for right now, she in particular continues to try to do this. I'll give a little bit to you and a little bit to you and some to me. And she really is trying to keep herself almost above the fray. And her hope, bless her heart, her hope springs eternal, There is a really significant aspect of them. I cannot emphasize this enough, that they believe the press, okay? They believe the news stories. And they honestly think that this is a bump that they will be able to move past, okay? They are not taking what is going on at all seriously because, frankly, they are surrounded by people who are encouraging them not to. So there's going to be more information coming out about business practices, especially things that are overseas. And I think at some point that the Democrats may actually really start pushing back about this whole Hunter Biden thing, because apparently apparently the Department of Justice is again continuing or starting a new investigation into Biden. And, following the information of Giuliani, believe it or not, that nonsense is still going on behind the scenes. So that's going to continue. The government is going to continue to do what they can and it's interesting. On one hand, they're going to do what they can to buffer and protect them. And then other aspects of the government are doing what they can to get the truth and some clarity. But they continue to function honestly as sort of like little children, right? Little children at play. This is all a game for them. It's not serious. Well, guess what? The burdens are going to continue to get heavy, and here comes judgment, frankly, raining down on their heads. Okay, so as they continue to move forward, what they're not seeing is there's other stuff behind the scenes, frankly, that is also moving forward. And that, I'm thinking, is probably not in their best interest. All right, now let's take a look at good old Don Jr., who is, I am sorry, as stupid as a bag of hammer handles. Okay, this guy, one really has to question his IQ. He just mindlessly follows his father. He just, whatever daddy says, that's the truth, and that's what he's going to defend. And, he is a little bit more volatile. I mean, honestly, that's hard to imagine, but in some ways, his behavior is in some ways more volatile than daddy's. And I think part of the reason for that is he's still a little bit, well, he's not young, but, he doesn't have some of the years on him. And so he hasn't learned yet how to conduct himself in a way that is a little bit less in your face and a little bit less aggressive. And so with him, you definitely kind of have that situation where he really thinks no harm can come to him. He just believes that daddy is going to protect him. And now that there is Pompeo kind of in his court, and Mnuchin for sure is in their corner, and then you've got Barr. He's feeling really quite empowered. And in the privacy of his own little pea brain, he really does harbor the opinion that he really can become president himself one day. God help you. All right, let's take a look at Don quickly. Come on, let's go. Here we go. Come on down. And I have a question. Tell me about Don Jr. Tell me about Don Jr. Tell me about Don Jr. What is his story? Okay, well, here we go. Probably I'm not going to need to, pull a lot of cards after this, right? So he really, on some level, see, this is the thing. The Trump kids, the Trump family, Donald Trump learned by Fred Trump, who probably learned it from whoever was before him. There is this perpetual sense that if you don't play dirty, if you play by the rules, you're a schmuck. And if you play dirty and you get what you want out of life, that is just exactly how it is supposed to be. That is justice for the Trump family. That is justice for people who are smart enough to know how to scam the system. And that is literally how they have been raised. And so because of that, he really feels that anything he says or does, anything him and Ivanka said or did in terms of selling those condos, anything that his father has done to defend himself, well, you know what? That is just. That is exactly how it should be, because anybody who follows the rules is a fool. And he is going to do whatever he can to protect daddy. He is going to do it until he is absolutely broken and destroyed. The tower is coming down, actually, I think, on him and probably Ivanka in some ways almost sooner than it is on Trump. There really is a sense that some of these investigations about the Trump business practices and the Trump family and the way they handled things, particularly in business, in some way there's a bit of a pullback about going after them really personally. That's going to come later. But there's definitely investigations going on in terms of business practices, and that really is going to continue to sort of collapse on them. There's going to be a lot of investigation going on with their assets and how they accumulate them and how they report them, etc. And frankly, the lies they tell in order to get more of them. So there is that bit of an assessment going on, but I tell you truly, in this moment of time, he is still running around, I don't know, with a feather in his cap and a tiara in his back pocket, thinking that he is the golden boy and he is following in daddy's footsteps. He cannot be harmed. He cannot be touched. This is this crazy, crazy illusion that these people operate under. And, I hate to say this, but to be completely fair, it's not a wrong feeling based on the fact that there is an Attorney General of the United States who will do whatever he can do to protect not only the presidency, which is sort of bad enough, but to protect the president's family and previous and current business dealings. So he has a reason for feeling that he is buffered and protected. And in some way, when the Tower comes and the Ten of Swords comes, he is really, really going to be completely unprepared for it. Dark money, and literally the literal ending of life as he knows and recognizes it now. A lot of family squabbling that's going to take place. And again, this is the Trump family, right? So what they do is, if things are not going the way they like, well, they simply blame something, somebody, someone, some situation. It's never, ever their fault. So that's kind of how the Trump kids are doing right now. And I guess we will just continue to watch the news and see what continues to unfold with them. But frankly, for certainly those top three, Jared and then Ivanka and Don Jr., it really, really does look like there are going to be some heavy penalties that they're going to end up paying, not only, I think, financially, literally, as different lawsuits are filed, different investigations are done, but certainly as that security that they have, that net of security that they are now being afforded, because whether anybody likes it or not, their daddy is the president, and daddy has a whole bunch of people in his back pocket because he has become the bully in chief. So for right now, in some ways, they are protected. There's going to be chinks and cracks. There's going to be information coming out. And because they don't see things very realistically, it's really going to be an awful big surprise for them. Okay. Once again, thank you so much for the support of the Soulprint family. This channel is doing really well, and I appreciate every one of you. Thank you so much for the subscriptions, the likes, the thumbs up, of course. The comments are brilliant. I again ask you to double check that you remain subscribed and that your notification bell is on if that is what you want. Okay, so this is the thing. On a regular, my videos now come out with a sort of a real systematically. Okay, Monday through Friday, typically there's going to be a intuitive tarot video come out, typically early, in the morning hours, sometimes my time here in Alberta. The insights videos are going to come out on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and the energy circles comes out on Sunday, usually morning, again, my time. So if you're not getting those notifications, double check to make sure that you have actually asked to receive them, okay? Because once again, the numbers have frozen. And so that tells me something kind of wonky is going on. So please take a moment and just double check. Until next time, take care, be well, and I'll see you soon. Bye. Sorry, bye.